millions of lives.
Thank you. Thank you. And how I ended up in the paranormals, I guess this was the market that needed it. I mean, my journey was everywhere, show producing, this and that, keeping this my private world. But the universe is like, oh no.
No,
Oh
no. Yeah, I know. Same thing happened to me. Oh no, we'll have none of this.
no,
You
no.
know, in the opening of the show, there's a picture of a watch. And it just says now, a piece of paper written, you know, the word now stuck into the crystal. And it's now, the time is now. And we have important work to do and a
Yes.
lot of people to lift up out of the depths of desperation. And we do it every single day. I know what you accomplish every day in terms of enriching those in your space, in your company, or those that reach out to you. And I try, even in the midst of my current circumstances as a caregiver for my mother in hospice, I still find a way to do what I can when I can for anyone in need. And it is my privilege and my pleasure to live my life this way. I don't know, I don't even remember what it was like not being uh, the presence that I am in this field. It's been so long now. But I do remember being the brand new kid on the block when The Conjuring opened, and nobody really knew about my books yet until the movie hit. And then voila, you know, it was suddenly I was getting letters from all over the world about how our story had opened their minds and touched their hearts, and that now they felt free, liberated to tell their own story, which is the greatest gift that
Yeah.
you can ever give to someone else, is to say, as they're being forthcoming about something they may have never discussed with anyone but except you, and to say, I believe you, is, I mean, I love you is the most powerful phrase in this language or any other, but I believe you is equally powerful in a different way. And it
Yes.
is your grace and your poise and your openness to others that has brought you to the forefront of what I consider a movement, you know, a spiritual ascension as a movement, as a great awakening, which is why this show is called A World Awakening. We are a world awakening to our own reality. It's not that the reality has shifted. It's how we're looking. We're seeing our old reality, but we're seeing it with new eyes.
Yes.
And this is happening en masse all
Yes.
over the world.
And it's so needed now. And honestly, Andrea, you to me are the most inspirational, positive in our field, our small field. You are the one who was always, yes, this, and you bring the spirituality always to the paranormal, and not just spirituality, it's the positive, the magic. Yes, they are here, they are coming, where everybody else is, what do I gotta do? And what do we get a conspiracy? You bring the love and the, like nobody else, like nobody else.
Well, you know, see, I think of you exactly the same way. And that's
Mutual
why,
admiration
you
society.
know, and that's why it works. And when we're together, I feel like have you ever noticed that when we're together, how people gravitate around us? And before you know it, we were in a private conversation for 30 seconds,
Yeah.
and then we're completely surrounded. And it is, I giggle. You know, it's like they didn't hear what we were saying. They just gravitated to the light. They gravitated to that level of energy, that frequency that
Yeah.
we vibrate on, you know, when we're in physical sharing space. And they can't help it. They're just drawn to the light. And I think that that is magical and mystical and miraculous all in its own right.
In its own right. Yes, I agree. And again, I picture you, taking the thrones out into the parking lot to look into the sky, and there's 60 people, 70 people going looking up maybe for their first time in
Yes.
forever. And the magic you bring. So I'm just happy to be here with you. Thank you.
Well, what do you, I mean, you're so multifaceted. There's nothing under the para umbrella that you cannot discuss with, knowledge, with wisdom, with foresight, hindsight. So it's your show. What do you want to talk about tonight?
Oh, we could go everywhere. I'm one of those, like, let's take the windy road and get here. Anything. We could talk about this, like what I have noticed this year is, again, we're going through the shift. We know that we're going through these changes. Great. You are needed. I am needed. We are all needed. But when I'm still interested, and again, it's a year of the dragon. I'm not a Chinese astrologer, but I am a dragon girl. Dragons everywhere I go in my life.
Yeah.
But what I'm learning to figure out by it is the chaos that, until we learn to, like, I don't want to say tame the dragon. I don't want to tame the dragon, but like to hold on to the dragon. I would like your thoughts and have you noticed this? Some of the chaos we see is like that big scary stuff, but some of the chaos is just chaos.
Yes, it is. And that's the illusion that we witness, and the delusion that we suffer, is that we somehow have control over anything, and we don't.
Yeah.
And I think that it's that personal admission and acknowledgement that is part of our spiritual ascension. That when we come to terms with our flaws and our frailties, and when we come to understand that this urgency that we feel to control our environment or our situation or even our society is misguided in the extreme. I think there's a common denominator at the root of all of this discontent. And it's like a two-pronged fork. It's like that fork in the road, which I took the fork in the, it's sorry, that's a terrible joke. No. But it's fear, because, people think that the opposite of love is hatred or hate. It's not. It's fear. And hatred is born of fear. And our mutual friend, Erin Bush, said, I always screw this up, but basically from her father, she got, where interest or self-interest lies, honor dies. And we've seen so much of that we've become really quite jaded and distrustful. And there's been so much disinformation and misinformation that has been scattered like pixie dust in between the truth and what is reality. That I often feel like I'm living between Earth 1 and Earth 2, that there is somehow an alternate reality that has sprung forth. But if this is truly what I know it is, which is the paradigm shift, that period of time in human evolution where nothing is ever the same on the other side of it, that's the simplest way that I can put it. All of this has to happen. The unraveling has to happen, so that when we stitch our tapestry back together, it's more beautiful than it ever was before. And it does have to happen. And it is painful, very painful, because for a lot of folks out there, this year will be pivotal, and they'll be having to make big decisions about things that they had, or people that they had faith in, who were unworthy of their belief. Now, I am the year of the dog in Chinese astrology, which is the only reason why I had a lover once who was a dragon. Oh my God, that didn't work out. But that was a long, long time ago. I barely remember.
That's a good story for another day.
All I know is that a dog can slay a dragon. That I know.
That's good.
But I am devotional in my friendships. You know that. I mean, we can go months and months and months and not see each other, not talk, and then we're together, and it's like we just pick up right where we left off.
Right where we left off.
You know, it's just perfect. And I am devotional. I have friends that I've had since I was in grade school. Going back, gosh, my oldest friendship, we met when I was eight, and I'm 65. So, you know, there you go. And the only way to be a good friend to other people is to listen. The only way is to, you know, absorb who they are into yourself. And I'm afraid that we've put up so many barriers between each other. We've over established boundaries to the point where we can't talk to each other about certain topics. And I think that that's extraordinarily unhealthy. And I think that when we defeat those common denominators, greed and fear, then we will see our reality in a whole new light. I'm also very encouraged, being fascinated by science, the scientific method.
Me too.
I just read, and after the show tonight, I'm going to post it on Facebook. I just read the most fascinating article, and you know, I have complete command of this language. I had to read the article 3 times to absorb all of it. It's written by this brilliant professor, and basically he puts the final nail in the coffin of naturalism, and admits that there is quantifiable data to prove the existence of an afterlife, to prove the existence of spirit. It's absolutely fascinating. I have to track him down and get him on the show.
Yes.
But the thing that I appreciate most about you is that there is always forward momentum with you. There's nothing stagnant. We can witness you growing, changing, sharing, blossoming all the time. Whenever I'm in your presence, I do feel graced. I do feel like it's a blessing. And I learn something profound from you every time I'm with you. Though I have one regret about Phoenix is that I so wanted to do my thing, to do my calling.
I know.
And it was it was just so crowded, and there were so many people, and I could not. I have to be in exactly the right frame of mind. And I was seeing so much going on in the sky out in the desert. I couldn't believe that not everybody else was seeing it. And then I got this message, but they're not looking up. And really, that's the purpose, the greatest purpose I serve. It's not that they come when I call. Our galactic family is around us all the time. It's just that they make their presence known when I politely introduce them to whomever is with me. So the next time that we're together, I will give you a formal introduction to my vessels, my members of the galactic family that I am most closely associated with. And we'll just take it from there, my darling.
We will take it from there. Like I said, you are inspirational. And you're right about we need to communicate. We need to re-talk. We need to reconnect.
Yes.
We're both very public people. We're both at events constantly, and which is great because people do come to learn, come to listen. But I go back into the real world, whatever that means. I don't know what that. And
I avoid it like the Black Plague. But
I know it. And you walk into a place and people are waiting, and everybody, and I mean, I admittedly often on their phone. It's like there isn't conversation anymore. People at dinner, it's like there isn't questions and answers and conversation and how we feel.
And eye contact.
Eye contact.
What happened to that?
No, because your face is in your phone right here. It's like,
yeah. If the eyes are the window to the soul, which I believe is true.
Me too.
Then how can you see a person's soul if you're not even looking?
Yeah. So yeah, so I learn every day. Everything is so fluid, and then this new observation and this new realization. And again, my whole thing is, like you, get people to look up and get people to stop and listen. And again, trying to bring back things like, I'm about empowering people, because I just look at people. We're the same. We are flawed, beautiful little creatures. But uh, what happened to, they give away their power. I just look, and they give away their power to other people, to
Yes, they
fear. Like you said,
relinquish it
fear
to
is,
fear
they give away
itself.
their power to limiting
Yeah.
belief systems.
Yes.
And it's like, oh no, take it back. It's right there. It's right there. Take back that power. And that's really what I'm here for, to remind people how powerful they are. And then
Yeah.
maybe to reintroduce the word integrity, virtue, and ethics.
Well,
Integrity, virtue, moral
one of
code.
the best messages from the Wizard of Oz was when Glinda the Good Witch tells Dorothy that she had the power all along to go home. She just had to find it for herself.
Right. As I'm sitting Glinda right behind me, I have a Glinda mug that says that on it, and I have the big pink dress, mind you. But yes, you had it all along. So, and again, more and more as we go through this transition that we're going through, just reminding people of that, because
yeah,
that's how we get through this.
Yes, that's how we get through this. And really, it has to happen this way. I think part of it is, the acknowledgement, not necessarily embracing the chaos, but acknowledging that it exists for a reason. And if it weren't supposed to happen this way, it would happen another way. That doesn't mean that I'm fatalist, that I believe that everything is destiny, that we don't write our own chapters in our own books. I think that everything is happening with purpose and reason toward an ultimate well-defined goal. And that is our spiritual ascension. That is, for me, and tell me what you think about this. I'm really interested in your perspective, but I don't stay in 3D a lot. I'm not comfortable here. I find it very oppressive, riddled with flaws and errors, and just not a comfortable place for me. So I hop dimensions more than anybody else I know. I'm either with the spirits in the fourth, or with the family in the fifth, or beyond. And I come back when I have to, and it happens in a split second that I'm out of that space and I'm back into this world, this physical 3D world that we know, and in the environment that we're familiar with. But I escape it as frequently as I can. And I think that part of my reason for being is to show others how easy it is to extricate themselves from the darkness and the oppressive nature of 3D on planet Earth, which is mired in the muck of duality. There's a way to escape that constant conflict between good and evil and darkness and light. They hold hands in 3D. One cannot exist without the other.
Yin and yang, black and white.
But where I'm from, ultimately, that's not reality. Where I'm from, originally, somewhere, somehow, I know, is a place of complete peace, a place of total immersive love, a place where everyone helps everyone else all the time. And that is their reason for living, is to be of service to their fellow beings. And so I feel very much like a misfit. on this planet.
No, I'm that same misfit. We are not. I use different terminology. I've always used because I came up in this very elementally world, but I've been leaving this realm since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And I do it. Okay, this is the style of my witchcraft or my mediumship, but it's when I lift this veil or I show people how to go. Even my school, I started my spirituality school. We don't teach a truth, we teach many truths, 20 teachers, all of different paths, but it really all is to like, now we could step beyond and look at this, look at the enlightenment, the ability, the spirits, the everything that's there that I've been doing since I was a toddler. That's why I was never afraid. It was never dark or morbid. It was, no, this was beautiful. What's on that other side? And I went through the 80s not knowing how to stay in my body. I would wear hats. I'd keep hats until I learned how to come back and go away. So it's the same, slightly different terminology, which is great. That's our templates that we use. Some people is going to hear my template. Some people will hear your template. Somebody will hear a more scientific template. Somebody will hear a more religious template. That is fine to get to this truth of what's there.
Yes, yes, and absolutely. And I know we're living in a time and an age that is so pivotal that the vernacular has had to grow and adjust with us. You know, when you talk about, you know, the Great Awakening or, you know, illumination, that means a lot more. And it has a burgeoning description or definition compared to what it used to. You know, if you used the word illumination or transcendentalism or, you know, any number of words that are just a normal, regular part of our vocabulary now as we describe this state. You know, 100 years ago, if you said illumination, someone would say, you have electricity in your house?
Right.
We're still using oil lamps.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how much the world has changed in 100 years. The blink of an eyelash.
Yeah.
So we can either, oh, Cassandra, I love you.
Whoa.
Seeing this. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, Bill, for putting that up. Thank you, darling. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're babbling.
Just girls talking.
Lovely.
Just girls talking.
Yeah. Well, I tell everybody that when you come on my show, we're going to have this great personal conversation, and a lot of people are going to be eavesdropping.
Perfect.
No, and isn't that lovely?
They're gathering around, just like
they are. It is the circling of the wagons. It is the gathering of the tribe. And I love being able to communicate this way with like-minded individuals. You know, I didn't come here. The banner on my my fan page that I created because I love my fans. It's called the Buttercup Brigade. We're the good deed doers, the rose-colored glasses wearers, the tree huggers. You know, that's what we are. And the banner there, it says, I did not come to teach you. I came to love you. Love will teach you.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And you have a beautiful, well, but your tribe is worldwide and beyond that, I know. But I mean, I listen to your show all the time. I watch your show all the time. You have amazing, beautiful friends and followers. And look what you've brought. Yeah.
There are times, honestly, I think, oh, you know, things are really difficult right now. Maybe it would be a good time to take a hiatus. You know, I won't really be that missed, you know, I'll be back later or whatever. And as soon as I posit that notion, I start getting messages. Don't you even think about it. I have one of our viewers. She said that this show every Friday night and Soul School, I have the 2 shows back to back, is her version of going to church every week. You know, that's where she feels most grounded and most rooted in her own spirituality and where she feels that she's in the most expansive space. And that's why it was so important for me to get you on here and to have this conversation, because we are coming from a slightly different perspective. You know, you have great gifts, Patti. There is an aura about you. There's actually kind of a corona around you that is, you know, speaks to your gifts and your tremendous value as media, as a physical medium, but also it goes so far beyond that it's almost, it feels like taking a, you know, piece of Post-it note and sticking it on there. Okay, this one's a medium, this one's a psychic, this one's a, you're everything, all wrapped up in one beautiful being. You radiate from inside out, and it is your wisdom, it's your cosmic beauty as well as your physical earthly beauty that draws people, and they just, it's like seeing living artwork. When I see you flowing across a room, I'm like, oh, there she is. You know? And I'm like, okay, we'll find our way to each other. I know we're going to find our way to each other. It'll be okay.
I'm walking with my ring light. I'm walking with my ring light. No, I mean, because I think, I mean, I've not always been this, like, you know, and it's been a lifelong journey. As we know, it's about the journey. But I love people.
Yes, me too. I love people.
Again, as flawed as we are and as idiosyncrasies as we have, and I love spirit, and I love the trees, and I love and I'm going to sit here like this big old tree hugger, but how could you not? How could you not? How could you not?
Well, I have a tree in the backyard of this house. You know, my sister Christine, this is her house, and my mother has been with her for, gosh, at least 20 years. And I wrote all 3 of my books here at this desk in this house.
Wow.
And I've lived, you know, many, many years here, but in December of 2022, after my mom had injured herself, I knew that this was not going to be a short-term thing. I knew that this was a commitment. And I moved up here. I'm like here pretty much full time. I'm only in Florida at my other home occasionally. Dad holds down the fort. He's great. He's got it. But it was a personal paradigm shift for me to realize that I can commit myself and devote myself to the cause of caring for my mother and still be able to care for everyone else and love everyone else. And in the process of sharing what's going on in my life as openly as I do, with people I perceive to be my extended family, which are viewers of this show and Soul School and all the people that I meet at conventions and in my travels. It has helped them to heal either from a loss or helped them to come to terms with circumstances or situations that are happening in their own lives. And it's only fair that we be as open as we are. I don't ever want to be put up on a pedestal. I get vertigo really easily. I'll break a nail. There will be hell to pay. No, I mean, we all need to eat the spiritual ascension that I refer to, that transformation that is occurring in each one of us. It's not vertical. It's not a ladder. Nobody's ahead of anyone else. We are all traveling in a horizontal forward way through this space-time continuum where everyone around us is close enough to just reach out and hold hands and travel together. And that's my deepest philosophy, is that we are all in this together. and it's complicated and it's messy and it is a lot to take in. But if you don't force yourself to do it in isolation, to do it alone, if you understand that everybody else around you is just as curious and just as burdened and just as angry and just as joyful and just as everything as you are, it really does level the playing field. It's like a form of COVID, except not deadly. You know, like COVID leveled the playing field. All of a sudden, it didn't matter what color you were, how you identified yourself in terms of your sexual preferences. It didn't matter how much money you had in the bank. That fucking virus was going to get you and kill you if that was what was going to happen. And we lost more than 1 million people in this country. And it's not gone, and it never will be. It leveled the playing field. It was part of the paradigm shift. And we're all having to come to terms now at the same time with our own mortality.
That is what it really did change, because everybody, like in youth, you have this like, I'm going to live forever and I can do anything.
Yeah.
And I think most of us have it to a certain point. Then it's like, oh, maybe not. But this did everybody the different is the mortality. We do have to look at things. I think it probably was, I guess needed, whatever, for that shift that we're going through, that same chaos. It's it
presented us with chaos unlike any of us had never seen in our lifetimes. I am actually a product of the last pandemic.
Really?
Yes. My father's mother was the only child in her family that survived it. And she grew up in an orphanage. And had she not been the lone survivor in her family from what they called the Spanish flu, I wouldn't be here, because my father wouldn't be here. You know, it was, it ravaged this country. It ravaged the world. Every place it touched, it claimed lives so indiscriminately. It was almost like it took pleasure in it. And if you think dying from COVID was bad, go back and read the history on the symptoms of the Spanish flu that actually did not originate in Spain. It originated in Kansas, of all places.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. And the reason it went all over the world was because we were involved in World War I, and our soldiers were getting infected and then taking it all around the planet. It is this thing called life is none of us, not a single one of us can explain the who, what, where, why, how, and when of it. We just have to accept that this is life, and we have to find our way. I know that spirit exists. It's not wishful thinking. It's not a leap of faith. It's not, I know that spirit exists because I have encountered it since I was 12 and saw my first full body apparition that looked like flesh and blood to me, because I wasn't in 3D when I was with him. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was in his dimension. And that's why he appeared solid to me. But my sister Nancy saw him evaporate into thin air just a few minutes later. And that was our introduction as children to the farmhouse and our little corner in Rhode Island, and our magical mystery tour that we took for a decade.
Yeah.
That 30 years later, I thought, I think it's time to tell this story. And it changed everything. And it's liberated every reader of our story in extraordinary ways. Well, you do the same thing. You liberate people. You liberate people from their fears, from their woes, from their sorrow, from their burdens, and you heal them and you lift them up. And I can't think of a greater gift to give our fellow human beings or every animal we encounter.
Yes, I'll include the animals.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. On that note, again, we've both been traveling the veils. We've both been seeing the other side and spirits and go to their realm. I I am not I'm an expert on spirits. I've also, on your other worldly friends, I've done a couple of different things working in different languages, ancient Sumerian from one of my teachers, Maximilian de Lafayette. And it was a whole different experience than I'm doing a seance or a spiritualist style seance. They must be very different realms. What a ghost, what we call ghost or spirit, is going to come to, and what a star being is going to come to. I just would love your thoughts on this, because I haven't quite figured that out yet, but there seems to not interesting crossing and not crossing.
I think that everything is energy and consciousness.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so therefore everything is one thing. I believe that spirit is extraterrestrial, no longer of the earth, and yet still present on the earth at their time of choosing. I think that they are free and that they can come and go as they please. And yet there are arguments within my own family about that subject. You know, we don't claim to be an expert on any of it, even though we lived steeped in that environment for the better part of a decade. I still can't tell you what I experienced, but I do believe that the extraterrestrial activity around that farm is just as amazing and just as awe-inspiring as the spirit activity. And I actually had an opportunity to communicate directly with one particular spirit, and was told that when he lived there, the house was quote unquote haunted, that there were spirits in the house when he lived there in the 1800s, and that they saw things in the sky that they could not explain at a time before airplanes, satellites, drones were even invented. And
That's
so
fabulous.
I know, isn't it? It's just great. I mean, tell me where you can hear a UFO story from the early 1800s where anything like that is even in print. You know, it's other than sleight of hand references here and there, and some of the earliest sci-fi, you don't really see it. But having received a testimonial from one of the spirits that actually is dwelling at least part-time at the farmhouse, to get that information directly was mind-blowing, even for me. It,
I love it. I can't believe I haven't even been there yet. Of all my
oh,
travels worldwide,
we have to
we have
make
to do
that
that.
happen, and we need to
Yeah.
make it happen when I'm there.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yes,
Yeah.
I need you there. I
So
want
that I
you there.
can introduce you to them.
Yeah, I would love to meet your spirits there. And yes, I agree wholeheartedly. They had to. Yeah, I might. That's my new study thing, from seeing the otherworldly spirits from these spirits, because they go back and you look at all the ancient things and early man, all this repeating things and stuff. So it just intrigues me. Again, talking to the other side in my style since I was 7. My first seance, I was 7 or 8 years old. And when I think back to when I was younger than that, before I want to do a seance, not knowing what it was. But again, that lift the veil, lift the terms I use, lift the veil. So go the other side where you could see them and smell. And that's what I do in the seances, so that everybody can see and smell and taste to their own ability. It's like, now you're all psychic. Now you're all a medium, because it's there. But thinking back when I was littler, always talking to spirits, I think some of my friends did not necessarily show themselves as I'm Uncle Bob Ghost.
Right. Yeah. And to me, I don't know about you, Patti, but to me, and it's no disrespect, I honor them. But it doesn't matter to me who they were in life as much as it matters to me who they are in afterlife.
Yes.
That they still are is miraculous to me. And I don't shy away from that word. I don't, tie it directly through connotation to one particular religion or another. But I do believe in miracles. I have witnessed miracles in my life that have no other explanation other than something miraculous just happened. And to be touched by spirit is, for me, a blessing, not a curse. I even love the cranky ones. I mean,
me too. I
mean, they're actually some of the most interesting spirits of all. We don't know. Facebook didn't exist 200 years ago. We don't know what kind of lives they had to live and the hardships, the struggles. I mean, as well as I do, walking through the graveyards of New England, you're going to stumble over little tiny gravestones that don't even have a name on them because the child either died at birth or it was even considered bad luck to name your child before its first birthday. If they survived the first year, the chances went up that they could maybe survive to adulthood back in a time where there was no such thing as antibiotics or penicillin or aspirin. There was nothing. If you got sick, there was a chance you could get sick enough that it would kill you. Even the common cold was a common form of death. I can't even imagine having to live with all that we have at our disposal that make our lives so, dare I say, luxurious.
Yes.
Heat, air conditioning, hot and cold running water, a shower whenever we want, a television, computers, vehicles of every shape and form. We can get from point A to point B. No big deal, no problem. You don't have to hitch up the cart and horse anymore. But my mother lived at a time when that's how they went to town. And my mom's 84 years old, and she has told all of us all the stories of way back when and how life was growing up her father was a tenant farmer on a dirt farm in South Georgia. And she grew up swimming with alligators in the little Okmulgee River.
Wow.
And knew how to save her own life by the age of 6. Knew what to watch out for, what spiders, what snakes, what this, what that, all the natural dangers in her natural world, living on the edge of a swamp. When I think just in one generation, I am my mother's daughter, and I saw the cabin that she was born in once in my life when I was 10 years old. And it's hard to even wrap your mind around. Now, I say this for a reason, because when my mother, who I do believe comes by her proclivities naturally, when she was 12 years old, she heard her mom, my grandmother, and her mother's sister talking about seeing this very, very large vessel when they were younger, when they were girls, and they were out walking together, and they came to the top of a knoll, and they looked down, and there was a massive spaceship hovering right over the valley. Wow. And when my mother, who overheard their conversation about it from her bedroom, got up the next morning, she said, "Mama, what were you and Aunt Lydia talking about last night?" And she said her mom put her hands on her shoulders and she said, "I don't know what to tell you, young'un, but I do know this. I saw Jesus.
Wow.
Okay. I have always said, I can absolutely believe that Jesus Christ walked the earth. Absolutely. But the only way that story makes any sense to me was that he was a member of our galactic family who was sent here to teach us how to love each other. And his imprint has been left in the sand for 2,000 years. That's the impression that he made. But what he was selling, giving to humanity was radical. And so they killed him.
Yes.
I
agree wholeheartedly.
Bill just said we have 5 minutes left, and I just don't know how that is possible.
How does that happen?
You have to come back.
I will come back. Questions.
And now we're on. Okay.
Paraflix. You're on Paraflix, and you're coming on my show, The Witching Hour. We're going to get you on in the next couple weeks.
Yes, absolutely, and we'll just pick up where we left off because I feel like we just started. I cannot believe that an hour went by.
Space jump.
I know. Bill, I sent Bill an atomic clock for Christmas. It was back ordered at Amazon for ages. So he's using this stupid little alarm clock that he's got on it in his beautiful high-tech studio there. And I just don't believe in the time that it keeps. I think that it is inherently flawed. I do. But I don't really believe in time anyway.
I don't think there is time on the other side of the veil or on the other dimensions. I don't believe there's time and space. That's just hard for our little brains, our little human brains.
Yeah. Well, like Carly Simon said, I measure out my life in coffee spoons. Yeah. Like just the sips of coffee that we slurp out of a spoon. It's been a wild ride. And, we need to do an event together. I need you to tell while we still have a little time left, Bill, if you can tell people how they can reach you and what you are doing and all of that.
Okay. PattiNegri.com. Go to my website, PattiNegri.com, because there you will get to my real social media. I am hacked on Facebook right now. I'm very hacked. My professional page is up, but I have no access to it. I do have the email address of the hackers who have it, but there's that chaos. But I'm still on Instagram and TikTok and X and everything else. But I've got lots coming up, and we've got to be seeing each other. I'm going to be next month in Arizona at the Globe Paracon. I think, are you doing Michigan this year?
Yes.
Me too. So we will be there together. May is busy for me. I'm doing a Romania tour with Sebastian. We're doing Romania. I've got something in Texas. And what else I'm doing in May? Pennhurst. I'm doing Pennhurst Paracon.
Oh, I'll never go back there. That place. Oh, God.
Really? I've never been. This is my first time.
Oh, honey, prepare yourself.
Okay. I've always come prepared. I will be prepared. Yes. I'll say, Andrea warned me, but I've got lots of stuff coming up. So doing Spirits in the Spring and Pacific Coast Paracon and again, Michigan. And, but just go to PattiNegri.com and my YouTube page with tons and tons of free videos. My school, University Magicus, magicu.org or University Magicus, 20 different teachers of all different belief systems, but all positive magic. And then Paraflix, our network with the fabulous.
And we're together there.
Yes.
Oh, it's wonderful.
We are honored to be part of it, KGR.
I am honored.
Yep. No, and, we need to do our own thing because when we take our message and our movement and we put it in the hands of the so-called professionals and then they do with it what they will, we need to do what we're doing right here, right now.
Yes.
Just connecting immediately, like say KGRA. Contact, stay connected, be connected.
Yeah.
I will say this because we got less than a minute to go, but hopefully Patti can get over to the farmhouse with both of you there And I think a lot of people that are in the chat are saying, if that happens, we're all going.
Okay, let's do an event. Let's do it. One of the teams can film it if they want for Paraflix, because we have so many teams. They could film it. We have many to do it, so let's do it. Yes.
Okay, let's do it.
You know who to talk to.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
We're gonna make it happen. Anyway, ladies, it's a pleasure to be here with both of you, and great show and great energy. And it's an honor to be on the screen with both of you.
Honor to
isn't he?
Get the words out of my mouth.
He's the magic man behind the curtain. This one right here.
Wow.
So we'll close out the show with the message that I leave at the end of every show, which I know you know. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Be the beacon. Be the light you seek. Thank you all, and good.